I am the program lead for the Wisconsin Women in Conservation Project. I work with the Michael Fields Agricultural Institute, and we work in partnership with other organizations at the Wisconsin Women in Conservation. This network that though we kind of, as a team, we kind of dreamt this to be, it would not have happened except for your enthusiasm, your participation, and I would like to thank you all for taking this time to be with us. And it's going to be quite a learning experience for us as well as for you. We have a big agenda in place for these 2 hours, so we look forward to good interaction between us. As we set this ball rolling, I would encourage you to introduce yourself in the chat. Please put your name, where you're from, and also the good work you do, so we get to know each other. So keep it going in the chat, and then we will still have some time to meet a few folks in the breakout rooms as we have planned for the day. We have a lot going today. We have some breakout rooms for conversations. We have some networking time. We have some things planned for a year forward as we move. But before that, I'd like to, before we even move into that, I would like to introduce our VIP for today, Angela Biggs, who's the state conservator. Wisconsin is really lucky to have a visionary in Angela as heading the state organization. She was the main driving force behind this whole project of Wisconsin Women in Conservation, bringing organizations together and get this rolling for the women landowners of Wisconsin. So we welcome you, Angela. Thank you for taking your time to be with us as fellow professionals. We really value your time and your vision. I would like to hand over the mic to Angela for her to deliver her thoughts to us on the origin story and why this is important to her. Thank you.
Thanks, Esther, and good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to see all of you on the screen. For those of you that have your cameras turned on, it's wonderful to see everybody's face. Wish that we could all be together in person, but I tell you what, this method of being able to meet really makes it convenient as we're all across the whole state. So it's fantastic to see you all. I'm happy to be able to join you this morning. As Esther mentioned, my name is Angela Biggs, and I am the state conservationist here in Wisconsin for the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service, or NRCS. And we are the conservation agency, the conservation arm of USDA. And we're out there with folks in field offices all across the state and really all across the country, providing that one-on-one service and advice to the farmers, landowners, ranchers, producers all across the country who come to us not only for technical advice, but also for some financial assistance as they implement their conservation practices. So really excited to be with you today. I know there's a lot of items on the agenda, and certainly with this group, the Wisconsin Women in Conservation, a lot of fantastic activities planned, not only in this past year, but coming up in the next year. I know I just had another email this morning about an upcoming field day, I believe. So all kinds of things going on, a great resource for you. But this whole effort really started off with, as NRCS, we work with a lot of partners out there, and a lot of partners help assist us with doing a lot of outreach activities and even some of the technical activities and helping us with the producers here in Wisconsin. And there were a bunch of different groups of folks, many of whom are a part of this partnership, who were working on different aspects of outreach. And with all of these different groups, I really asked and thought, well, every single one of them is working on outreach, oftentimes targeted outreach, looking to reach the women producers and landowners here in Wisconsin. And wouldn't it be better if we could all work together and each organization could bring their strengths to the table and the part that they're really good at? And so we're not overlapping, we're not competing against each other, but rather working together collaboratively to reach the women landowners and producers in the state. And that's critically important for us as an agency as we work in the field of conservation. We're still a relatively kept secret. We're a little bit of a secret agency out there. We do a lot of fantastic work across the landscape, provide a lot of terrific services to the producers and landowners. And we just need some more assistance to help get that word out across the state. And if you all are not aware, for the agricultural statistics here in Wisconsin, approximately, or I should say more than 35% of the producers are women. And also more or around 22% of the producers have fewer than 10 years of experience. So they're new and beginning farmers. So there's really a need for us to be able to reach out and to let those folks know about this resource that we have available through NRCS in terms of not only the technical assistance, as I mentioned, so that advice, one-on-one advice tailored to their farms, their land, but also the financial assistance resources that we have available as the need. So this partnership really came out of that need to increase our outreach and then also increase the that beginning information that we're providing to the producers across the state. So I'm really excited about working with all of these groups that are together in this partnership. I'm sure, well, I know that the materials that were sent out are mentioned. I think the group will probably mention it too, but Michael Fields Agricultural Institute, Wisconsin Farmers Union, Renewing the Countryside, Moses, NRCS, and many other partners out there too together, but those are just a few key folks. And super excited about it. This group has just hit the ground running, and I'm so excited by how many of you elected to take some time today to come and participate in this event. You know, that's just amazing to see that you all are interested in helping to spread the word out there and get this information out, because we have so many resources available for producers out there. And the timing is perfect too, because we're beginning a new fiscal year. So it's the beginning of a new sign-up period for many of our financial assistance programs. Folks can apply for those programs year-round, but this is the timing when we start having cutoff dates for batching periods for the funding that we have available. So the timing is right, and we're really excited to be able to share this information. And I know we have a really good agenda with a lot of information for you all to be able to go over. And of course, the Wisconsin NRCS staff is always available to answer questions. Our field office staff are incredibly knowledgeable, both technically sound and in our programs information. And then of course we have folks at the area office level. We have 4 area offices across the state, and then at the state office level in Madison. So we have a lot of resources available out there too to help you as you help spread that conservation message. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Esther. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to see all of you on, and definitely looking forward to the conversation today.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you for sharing this, your insights for us. And yeah, NRCS has been a big partner for us, the funding agency, but they have been always available for us for our questions, for how to go about making conservation plans for the project and stuff. So thank you for the help that we have here. Moving forward, I just wanted to I'm not able to share my screen. Okay, I bring about it. Can you see my PowerPoint presentation? No. Elena, can you make me a co-host? I think I'm not able to share my screen.
Yeah, you were a co-host, Esther. I just made you host. So hopefully that will solve it.
Okay, sure. Thank you. So I want to take this time, a brief conversation, an introduction about what we do in Wisconsin Women in Conservation Project, and the overview of the project that we have here. So we are the Wisconsin Women in Conservation. We are a team. We have different partnering organizations. Michael Fields leads this partnership. Moses, Renewing the Countryside, Wisconsin Farmers Union are the partners who are working in the field. And we have e-resources group who will be presenting today about they are the evaluation and the research partners. This is something unique to this project that we are constantly evaluating and pivoting our work based upon the research data that we get from our events. And Eric works with us on a every weekly basis about how we run this project. Um, So we have a central team. I am the project lead, as I introduced myself. Lisa Kippers. I ask all of our team to say hi in the screen. She's the outreach and education coordinator, and the research and evaluation is done by Jean Eels and Rebecca Christopher. They will be talking to you all later today. We have Margaret Chrome from Michael Fields. She helps us with getting the names of women landowners and coordinating the whole database of how to reach these women, absentee landowners, beginning farmers, and also landowners who are operating the land. And then we have Chris Marion, who's the communication specialist for us. She's done a great deal of work to get us this attention statewide, to bring folks in and be a part of this collaborative. And then we also have the regional coordinators. We work in 4 different regions of Wisconsin. We work with the Southeast, where Noemi Serrano is the regional coordinator. She works with the Michael Fields Ag Institute. In the Northeast region, Kristen Slaughter is the coordinator. She works with the Wisconsin Farmers Union. Sarah George is the West Central Regional Coordinator, and Elena Byrne is the Southwest Regional Coordinator. They both work for the Renewing the Countryside, while Jennifer Nelson is our Northwest Regional Coordinator. She works with Moses. So, and the Wisconsin Women in Conservation, what do? We just wanted to bring that out to you. We work with women landowners who farm, non-operator landowners, beginning farmers to help implement conservation practices on their land. And how do we do this? We enable this conservation journey where they are able to meet other women who are passionate about conservation. They find a network of peers and professionals to thrive it. We bring these people together through events, through other webinars, and so they get this network to thrive it. And then they learn together about building a healthy soil. They learn from their peers. There are demonstrations from the professionals. There are opportunities for them to talk to each other and learn about practices that others adopt on their farm. So this is how they learn together. And then they have the support of conservation coaches. This is something new that we have in our project. We have women serving as conservational coaches in different regions, and they open their farm. They have actually adopted conservation practices on their farm. They open their farm for people to visit. They talk to other farmers, their peers, and provide some guidance and counseling about how to go about what they want to do. So thanks to those conservation coaches who are landowners themselves, they give their valuable part of their time to be with us on this project. We also collaboratively steward a land for future generations. That's what we all are striving to do. And then we hope to build a community of people in each region. So they can't just fall back on each other, provide that support to each other, and then get this conservation rolling. That's what we want to see on our landscape. And about this project was started in October 2020. We have a 3-year term on this project. So currently it goes on until the end of December. The 4 regions, we work in a tri-county cluster. This is mainly for easier administration for the coordinators to work with. So they work in the tri-county region. You can see the counties that's listed for each of these regions, and new in 2022, we will be adding there'll be 3 more counties coming up in the Northeast region and 3 more counties coming up in the Southwest region. I'm sorry, my dog is. And then we also, we want you all, if you are located in each of these regions, this is a time for us to ask you to come and connect with us, be a part of the events that we are going to have over the course of next year, and work in partnership collaboratively. So how do we do what we have planned to do? We kind of make these learning circles, and we have it open to all women, no matter where they are in their conservation journey. So we have people who don't own land who come in, who just want to learn about conservation. We have women who just want to meet other women in their land come in. We have people who want to learn conservation, to implement conservation plans on their land. So we have all kinds of women who come in, and this is it's a safe space for them to share their stories, connect, and learn from each other. And it is like we tackle conservation opportunities and challenges. People talk about the challenges they have. the roadblocks that they have hit, and then we try and help one another to move forward in their conservation journey. I'm not here to say we solve everybody's problems. That's not what we try to do, but we try to provide the support that we can to keep their conservation journey moving forward. WiWiC, we work through tri-county clusters, as I mentioned. We have learning circles, we have field days. We, over the course of the summer, we had a lot of webinars. And more in all of these, the most important aspect we have is like forming that network. We are not heavy on content, but we are working towards having people connect to one another. And then our coordinators do an awesome job. They connect with personally through emails, through phone calls. They get back in touch with those women who come to these workshops. So they do an awesome job of doing this personal contacts. And then we also are planning for regional summits to bring all these women together so that they kind of feel that they belong to a journey and it's like a movement. And then they have mentor support and conservation coaches. We bring professionals on. We kind of expose them to the program resources of NRCS. We provide the technical help in terms of writing conservation plans for them. And also we hope that at the end, we would be having a community of women who support each other locally. So these are the kind of postcards that we sent, the fun postcards that we sent in the beginning of the year to invite women to come into the program for the workshops and field days. So I just wanted to give you a couple of examples. And then we did an awesome job during the summer. We had one summer series, the summer series running one every month from May, June, July, and August, just to stay connected to these women. And the topics for these were chosen based upon the interest that was because we had to pivot to Zoom because of COVID, and it was like a blessing in disguise because we were able to bring more women on to this workshops that we had in the spring, and then they were able to let us know what are the things that they would like to learn about. So we kind of ranked all their interests, and then we picked the top 4, and then we provided the webinars. This was a huge success. We had about 250 people, women, RSVPing for every single of these summer series, and we also had about 135 to 150 for every webinar. So which was like, and then the chat was so busy, they kept asking questions. At the end of it all, then we created a document, we provided the answers to everything, and then we have uploaded it to on a website. And I see that people go all the time there looking at what we have talked about. And even there are some more requests that's coming up for titles, which we hope we'll be taking up next year during our program next year. And the one that's coming up, you can spread the word for us if you can. That's like a conservation plan webinar. Melissa Bartz, who's the assistant state conservationist, and Betsy Doolittle, who's the area resource conservationist. They'll be on this program on the 9th at noon. This is mainly to talk about what are the conservation practices in Wisconsin, what are the conservation programs that's available. And so this is going to be just the 2 of them. We encourage questions on the chat, and we will make sure that we provide the answers for whatever people want to know. So that's something that's coming up. And then for the plans for 2022, we have 18 events across the different tri-county zones in the different in different regions. So if you are in touch with the coordinator, you will be given an opportunity to meet the regional coordinators of the region that you work in today. And then we can plan things together as we all move towards helping these women landowners. So we have things planned for spring, for late summer, and the fall. And we also have plans for Educator Network for the next year in spring and late fall. And then we have the Women Landowners Listserv that's coming up. Lisa will talk to you more about that today. We have conservation. We want to bring about the stories of women who have done conservation practices and journeys. We kind of amplify their stories in the media. Chris does that for us. She does a great job of bringing these stories of women. And then we also plan to bring out a publication with the case studies of 32 women who have actually done this through our program. And then we think we will be able to meet other topics of interest over the course of next year. So we just wanted to highlight a few of the things that we did Chris was able to bring out in the media. We had a lot of programs. I would like to just read a statement that she wanted to say. We have been very grateful for the incredible support of the press, including TV and radio. We particularly benefited from the sustained interest of Lynn Grooms, who did a WiWiC conservation quote series for AgriView and for repeated appearances on the Midwest Farm Report and Wisconsin Public Radio. We have had great outreach, not only in Wisconsin, but all through the nation because of the programs that we have been doing. So it's been a good journey in the first year. I mean, when we started, we were so unsure because of COVID, but we've made great strides. And we thank each and every one of our team and the partners. I would like to mention Pheasants Forever here today. They've been a great help for us in all of this programming. Their Farm Bill biologists were in most of our programs that we conducted. So thanks to them as well. And then I would move over to Lisa to talk about the next slide.
Excellent. Thank you, Esther, and welcome everybody. My name is Lisa Kippers, and I'm part of the Renewing the Countryside team that's part of the Wisconsin Women in Conservation team. I live and farm with my family outside of Monroe in southern Wisconsin. And first and foremost, thank you all. Thank you all for being here and taking the time. We realize when you get a random invitation for a random new entity and thing, it takes a lot of heart and soul and passion to jump in. But I think that, again, exemplifies the incredible group of people we have here who are so committed to our Wisconsin landscape and stewarding it and conservation, and particularly working with women landowners and growing that movement. So thank you for all the work you do. This network and the kickoff today is intended to really celebrate that and celebrate that collaboratively, so together we can do even more. So on that note, I want to get a quick sense of who we have here. So give me a thumbs up. Do folks see this poll? Folks see the, what people are doing the poll, Lisa? They see the poll. Okay, so how long have you been a conservation educator? This is a very broad, self-interpreted question. And really, when we're talking about conservation education and our network here, we also want a very inclusive, broad net. We have folks who are paid professional staff that are many fine agencies and nonprofits. But I also see, and I hope we have even more people who do this as volunteers, who just do it, period. So I think we do technically have more people for my whole life. That means however you want to interpret it. You were in 4-H, you were in Scouts, you were collecting, rocks as soon as you could walk and then sharing them with people. That's the kind of people we have in this Zoom room today. So yeah, okay, let's see. I think we got most folks here where we're at, but that said, check it out. Folks can see that, okay? See the results? 28% of the people here just started. So a welcome if you're new in your role, new in your job, new in your work. That is impressive, and I'm really excited about that because a warm welcome to a very welcoming community of people, of women who share your passions in doing this work. 28% less than 5 years, 38% over 10 years, 6% my whole life, although I would argue that's even bigger. So again, a warm welcome to everybody, and thanks for being a part of this new effort. So the goals of our educator network is to do exactly what we're doing here, to connect educators who work with women landowners. That is our differentiation. Being part of this WiWiC project is working with women landowners. But I would quickly argue, and a shout out to the men in this Zoom call right now, anybody who works in conservation works with women landowners. But we are trying to both celebrate that, and as you'll hear soon when Jean and Rebecca share some of the research work, to do it even better, because we want to learn more on how we can communicate to women, how women perceive conservation, and just how we can strengthen all of this together, particularly for women landowners. So on that note, sharing best practices and challenges, developing cooperative strategies with each other, and amplifying all of this support for women landowners that, thanks to Angela's leadership, has birthed here through NRCS and continues the ripple effect with all the many organizations here. Now, speaking of keeping connected, you dear folks are way ahead of me. I had intended, like, maybe halfway through, I'll introduce this networking contact sheet that we can use to connect with each other. Folks are already asking about a list of people, and that's awesome. We want to still respect folks' privacy. So this, I'll put it in the chat right now. We basically have set up a shared networking contact sheet. So please add your info in there. save that link. We'll send it out again, but this is intended to be between all of us to share your information, connect with each other. And I'm so excited people want to do that already, and I had to send it out earlier than expected. So this is exactly what we want to do. Inclusive, as I was mentioning, for anyone who works with women farmers and landowners in Wisconsin, whether you're agency or nonprofit, to educator volunteers, both men and women, we are all in this together. So a couple things we did as a soft launch over the summer that some of you were at is that we hope to continue and grow with your help, is we had the first official proclaimed by Governor Evers Wisconsin Women in Conservation Week in the middle of July, where Chris did a great job getting the story out of all the women landowners and the conservation work we've been doing for decades, centuries, generations, but to really amplify that message. And that was the perfect time of year to do it, when everybody's farms and lands are in beautiful, lush abundance. So since we had this special week going, we might as well have a party. And we had what we hope is the first of many multiple conservation educator happy hour meetups, because while Zoom has its benefits, it's so much better when we can do it together over some locally brewed cider at Bricks in Mount Horeb. So some folks were there back in July. And I think the karma of the conservation universe was really kind to us for this project, because as folks might recall, it was pouring all day. And for the 2 hours of our event, the sun shined and then it rained again. So we see that as a sign that we need to do more of these in-person meetups. And I'll talk a little bit about that at the end. But we want to continue this Wisconsin Women in Conservation Week next July and have multiple educator meetup happy hours in person throughout the state. And if you've got ideas of places to have them where you are, we'd love to hear it. And we'll swing back to that. Okay, so what I'd like to do is get a quick read of people, where you're from, because we're hoping to do some regional breakouts. And these kind of correspond, as Esther was talking about, with the regions of the program, but very general. So generally, if you work in a certain region, please identify that. But we're also thinking there's going to be a number of folks here whose work is statewide and you're not really region tied. So that's what we're looking at to do too. I'm going to put back in the chat again to that network contact sheet. So please,
yeah, there's so many rad stuff.
Please share your info so we can all keep connected there. Excellent. Esther, I'll turn it back to you.
Okay, so welcome everyone back here. And I had the pleasure of meeting some new folks today. And so I bet that you all did too. And at this point, I would like you to put it in the chat what you learned, like any educational resource that you learned that you can put in the chat. So we could all like kind of, even afterwards, if we are not able to read now, like learn from each other, not only from our rooms, but we'd like to put a ear into other rooms as well. So we can learn from the chat what happened in your room. So please do that. If anybody wants to share anything, I'll just give a minute here. If anybody wants to voice out something that really impressed you that you learned, you can take a minute here to speak, and please unmute yourself and shout out whatever you learned. Okay, there's a lot of information coming on the chat. Thank you, and keep it going. We would love to put this all together and learn from this more. We will send it out to all of you, so you all, whoever was in the other rooms, can also learn from the things that happened in rooms that we were not a part of. Lisa, I will move over to you so you can introduce our research team for the educators today.
You bet. Thank you. So one thing that's well, as we know, most of us in the room being women know women are pretty unique in how we approach the world that is sometimes misunderstood. And we are unique in this project too, in that we appreciate that and wanted to really focus on that by having a very strong research component of the Wisconsin Women in Conservation, where we are so excited and honored to be working with a team of women, Jean Eels and Rebecca Christoffel, for diving into how we can better learn, work with, educate, communicate with women landowners. And these women have been doing this for decades already in all sorts of contexts, but this is really a unique opportunity for us to better understand things in Wisconsin, and importantly, be able to share that with really the rest of the country in how to help improve women landowner conservation education outreach. So with that, I will happily turn it over to Jean and Rebecca.
Very good. Thank you. My name is Jean Eels, and I'm talking to you from Central Iowa. And I'll have Rebecca bat last in this particular process. I first want to give a shout out to the fact that Wisconsin NRCS has recognized that women do our work differently. And this is an opportunity to measure what that is instead of assuming that everybody approaches conservation work the same way with linear pathways, et cetera. I'm really excited to be able to have the flexibility to measure something other than, in addition to, but other than only acres and practices, because the things that women accomplish are much more rich and much more important to conservation overall. So I just want to give that shout out. Thank goodness somebody is going to back this in the first place. So I'm going to go fairly quickly through this. If you haven't heard me say this before, we can't just add women and stir. If we want to get to a new place to having more women engaged, we need different things for our offerings because women need different things. And if we always approach reaching women like reaching women conservationists, we're still going to miss the majority of women out there. I also want to say that learning circles are certainly not original. Use of circle is ancient and it's used by cultures across the planet. So it's not something that I want to claim as ours in any way. Most of us have grown up with models from European classical education where the headmaster lectures and people are arranged subordinate to him because it was always education for men. It's only been really in a lot more recent years that education for women in the United States has been accepted. So the other thing I want to mention is that if you've long been trained in education, if you're kind of steeped as an educator, you're likely going to feel a little tension in facilitating and training and organizing something that is very different because it's going to look like there's going to be wasted time. And I can guarantee there isn't. But if you want to reach beyond the choir, what we are offering by way of sharing what we know about learning circles, that is a super important opportunity. So I've got just a few slides that I will share here. Oops. Sorry, my system here is just a little clunky. It's coming.
Jean, I think you have to be a co-host or a host to be able to share your screen, and it's not looking like you are.
Perhaps somebody can remedy that from your end of things, if that's possible.
Esther, that has to be you, hon.
Esther, would you like me to walk you through how to do that?
How about if I just jump in? I'll just go through the information because the slides are really not that important, I promise. So there are three main ways that what learning circles bring to women's education and opportunities. There are three main things. And the first one is the physical arrangements. They are very, very different. If you change the physical arrangements, you get different results. And that's what's really important about this. Instead of standing up lecture mode, presentation, or even having a head of the table or having all of the experts bunched together, if everybody sits down, presenters included, and have the experts dispersed in the circle of women, you change the dynamic and you have a lot more discussion. And that's where women are going to learn better. The other thing that I will mention, I'll use my slides just to organize myself, is the idea that our agendas tend to get packed full every minute, just like, oh my God, we got to go on content. Oh, she can tell so many wonderful things, and let's give her an hour here and an hour there. And introductions all of a sudden gets squeezed down to about 10 minutes or so, and everybody just goes round robin really fast. Really critical to have plenty of time for introductions, and that those come at the very beginning of your event. It's one of the research pieces that we've learned. And it's super, super important to have a lot looser agenda. Less is more. That's probably the primary thing I want to share with you out of that. Normally we have experts talk, they field some questions, and covering all the content is key. If we want to help women feel supported, we want them to actually be able to take action, recognizing that social network is key to how women do conservation. That's something that's coming out of our research. It's very key to how women learn, and having more time so that women can practice new terminology, have discussion with an expert and ask questions, happens when we have women-only events, and it certainly boosts their confidence. So I'm going to ask Rebecca to step in and just say a little bit more about what it is that we're seeing in the early evaluation results.
Thanks, Jean. So in our first year, we've been doing evaluation, not for the summer camp webinars, but we had some meetings in the spring. And then we did field days in the late summer, early fall. And what we're finding are a few things that maybe will be surprising to some, but really are not that surprising to us given our experience. And one is that we are hearing from many participants that they really appreciate the women-only space, that they feel comfortable asking questions. They don't have to feel embarrassed or funny or, fear that they're going to be shamed for asking a question that maybe they think, somebody will think they should know the answer. And so, though in the past, Jean has often talked about much older women and this holding true for them, we're finding it across the board. Many of the women who have been coming to our events are not that old, and yet they still really appreciate having that space where they can be vulnerable in a way that they wouldn't feel comfortable being with men present. So that's one really important finding. Another really important finding, when you start worrying about our encouraging or recommending less is more on the agenda, we hear over and over and over again, we get in the remarks when people indicate when they felt most engaged during the meeting, it's hearing each other's stories, meeting other women who are also interested in conservation. They just really appreciate the opportunity to, many times, these are women they've met before, neighbors, but they didn't know that they were also interested in conservation. And so meeting like-minded women, some of whom they've met before, just not under this context, not understanding that, hey, this other person also has this interest, and also meeting new people new women who are also interested in conservation. So that the opportunity to share and the opportunity to hear from others, their stories, has really been very, very meaningful. And that has come out in the evaluations.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. We'll share more of our findings in another meeting, but those are two things that I want you to hear because they're so important to women's gatherings and reaching women.